You bet. Good morning, and just rolling from South Carolina to Tennessee. Guys, start the week, as we always do with Sunday, and just bringing a good mindset, putting the work into the workouts, wanting to, continue to always learn and get better from the things that happen on a Saturday, and a lot of highlights. Obviously, a lot of things that you always got to continue to clean up, and it's in all phases of the game. But moving to Tennessee, we know we're really looking forward to exciting. Obviously, this game is a big deal to to fans and obviously to us, and we understand that's the case for them as well. So looking forward to a really high level, heightened week with preparation and a big game on Saturday.
Thank you, Coach. Let's start with Nick, front right.
Yeah, following up about Tennessee, what have you been told about this rivalry, or what have you seen from it, maybe from afar?
Yeah, I've been told it's a big deal, and I know it's a big deal. You see it from afar, and it's these are the games, much like we've had already one or a couple here, and just they're the big ones that are on the schedule. As a coach, they're all big, right, in different ways, and you take one at a time. But we certainly understand the significance of the rivalry, and guys are going to be very motivated to go out and do their best and prepare well and be great on Saturday.
So Charlie?
Just sitting at the midway point in the regular season, how would you assess the defense's play from an execution standpoint?
Yeah, I think there's every week something a little different that presents itself. I know the last couple of weeks, the big thing that's been focused on has been getting off the field. And so, you look at yards per play, and we're making some teams earn it, but we just got to get off the field. And when those drives continue to stack on top of each other and there's more plays that your defense is having to play, it starts to wear you down and a little bit more. I think our guys, fortunately we rotate enough in to where we can hang in there for 4 quarters. But there's always going to be little elements, and it's not just defense, but it's offense and areas that are going to pop up, and the way people attack and the way someone may view your schemes or your personnel. And so, you continue to work on those things that we know we got to get better at and emphasize, but we also got to be ready for those other things too that just are part of the game, and making sure we got the answers, whether it's schematics or just that our guys are confident going out there and playing. This is part of the process. This is part of the progress that's got to be there when you're instituting new systems. I was thinking, I saw this, it must have been South Florida week, and I was sitting there watching last year's game, and I've had this happen everywhere I've been, but you look at a play call, all right, and I happened to watch the South Florida game of us versus them last year, and the play calls from last year are on that play, and those play calls have the same names, right? It's just called something different. But there might be play calls that are called something like a year ago that are something completely opposite or different in your system. And now, that's just something that's just part of the progress is guys processing. You're throwing something new at our guys to add to our schemes, to add to our concepts and the depth of what we do each and every week. And then they also have to do what we're doing and execute well against whatever we're seeing in front of us. And you try to find that fine balance on running what is your identity, what is your DNA of the systems you run, but also continue to build on those maybe families of what you do well, or continue to just grow, your entire offense, defense, special teams. So this is just part of it. Been through it many times. A lot of the ups and downs that you have, or maybe just execution didn't go as well as you want. Sometimes that's not the base stuff you do, but it's just the things that you have to continue to incorporate to continue to get to where you want to be, because it's got to be a volume of things over the course of a 12, 13, 14, or whatever the season is, and the length of it.
Go Chase, left side.
Coach Womack was asked this a minute ago, but I want to ask you as well. The shovel pass has hurt y'all defensively. Obviously, the last couple of games, South Carolina came back with 1 after Vanderbilt sprung 2. Just from a game planning standpoint, is that something you got to expect to see once a week until you get it stopped?
No question. And it's going to get thrown at you different ways. You know, the personnel or the formations that people line up in, you're going to try to find, you know, from an offensive standpoint, putting those, you know, shoes on and just trying to, you know, understand what that's going to look like in their scheme. And so it's going to be presented a different way. You know, it's 15, 20 years ago. I was running that quite a bit myself. It's because it's a play that, you know, you have to defend. And, you know, again, it might be presentation off of a boot. It might be presentation a sprint out option. But you got to identify where everyone's at. Everyone's got to fit their gaps. Apply your rules is really the significance of it. And, you know, people are going to use different things to try to really challenge your eye discipline as a defense. And that's one of the plays that obviously the last 2 weeks has been utilized in that way to challenge us in that regard.
Got a few questions from the back of the room. Ryan?
Coach, college football is based on a lot of traditions, a lot of games. To piggyback off what Nick asked you, what did you hear about this Tennessee game? And kind of a two-parter, are you a fan of cigars?
I know that this tradition goes back quite a ways. I know that cigars are a part of it. But I know that what I'm trying to do is just make sure we do our part as a football program and, you know, prepare so that people can celebrate and enjoy the rivalry on our end. And a lot of respect for Tennessee, their coaches, their players. But, you know, we're just pouring into the things we can control, what we can focus, and, you know, want to bring that joy to, you know, not just the hard work we put in personally and within this team, but also so our fan base can enjoy it as well.
Jonathan?
Hey, Coach. I believe just a few targets to Ryan Williams in the first 3 quarters of the game. As you guys go through conference play, how do you balance trying to get him the ball and also versus what the defense is maybe giving you?
Yeah, there's a couple more that you know, we didn't get where it didn't get to him or get completed. Ones where we were really trying to be intentional, whether it's a screen or just a matchup one-on-one. There's another 1 or 2 where the ball in a progression very well could have got to him, just like the other plays that he's had throughout the season where he might not be the number 1 option, but the progression will a lot of times take you there. You know, he's got to be a guy that we're always really paying attention to as far as the number of targets. And, you know, I think for the most part, we understand who those guys are. And a lot of them are in the starting lineup and maybe just the next guys in, you know, that you have to be really make sure in the game plan that they're involved. And so that will always be the case. We got to continue to emphasize that, something we always look at each and every week as we lay out the whole plan.
Ariel?
From the tape, what kind of challenges does Tennessee's quarterback present your defense this weekend?
Yeah, I think he's got he's a live arm, extremely talented. You can tell that they got the skill on the outside to where, you know, they can hit the home run and make big plays anytime. I think a lot of it is just trying to disrupt him to where the continuity and the flow, you know, is just not consistent. And that's going to be any quarterback every week. That's the goal, is to try to just really cause some chaos and change things up on them. They get into their tempo off of positive plays. And that's the key, is try to make sure that they don't get into that rhythm. Just like any offense, that's what you're trying to do. And he's talented. You can see it's there. He's still, I think, growing and developing. And we just got to make sure we disrupt him enough and make sure we're showing pictures and also getting bodies on the outside to where we make life, you know, hard like we would want to any other opponent.
Back on the left side of the room, Katie.
After Jaylen threw that interception at the beginning of the fourth quarter, what did you see from him to kind of bounce back and put the mistakes behind him for the rest of the fourth quarter? And just, is that an area he's kind of matured in?
Yeah, and I'm really intentional with him because I know how hard he is on himself. And, you know, this is really going back to, you know, I wasn't with him last year, but I know in spring ball and just how he was, and knowing that we are, you know, fighting for each other, fighting with each other. That's just not me and him. That's our football team. When we're in those moments, it's all about moving forward. No regrets when we walk off this football field, knowing we've given everything we've got, and that's just what I try to do when it comes to those times. Not just with him, with our whole team, you know, and those tight game moments. We're all in this together, and you know, we want to continue to learn. And so I'm going to remind him, coach him up on the situations we're in, how to apply the things we've talked about, throughout the course of our time together so far, how to learn what's happened in this game, and then just continue to move on. And we just keep stacking these moments on top of these moments. He'll remember, anything that happened this game. He's going to remember what happened to him, 4 weeks ago. And that's what I love about him. I mean, he is up here. He lives up here pretty much, wanting to be around the coaches. It's not just me, it's other staff members. And, just from my standpoint, to answer your question, I think, it's just a matter of continue to move forward, process, go 1-0, as you've heard many of our players say, and what that all means. Learn from it, flush it, play in the present, next play mindset.
Alex.
You had a pure feature back with Dylan Johnson at Washington, but here it's obviously a little bit different with Jam and Justice, and obviously Jalen Milroe getting the football. With Jam and Justice, I think they're averaging 15 carries per game between the two of them. Is that kind of the number that you'd like to see? And does that limit them? Maybe that's the wrong word. Does it limit them in terms of the role they're able to get on as a running back when they're not fed consistently?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you want to have two. We were kind of more forced, as you referred to, Dylan, a year ago, to have that with some injuries to other guys. That number, I think we would love to see that be higher. Now, how come that number is lower? I think it gets taken from, some of J Mills' carries, which, how can you argue with some of that when you're rattling off the runs he's had? There's that fine line on using him and keeping him fresh and using these other guys. I thought Jam and Justice ran very hard. I thought the run game in the Georgia game, I thought we were very close to having some runs that really developed. And I thought there was another level of physicality by our offensive line and an execution that was just not just in practice, but also in the game this close. I thought that would really take the next step in the Vanderbilt game. Felt good about the week of practice because of the flow of the game. Again, probably not as many carries as in touches, but you can see there was an intentionality to what we were doing. And it wasn't just maybe in the run game. It's getting them out and doing different things with them. We've seen, touchdown catches and balls out on routes to both of them. They're very critical to our offense. They're extremely athletic. They can do it all. They're, every down backs in their own right. And we need to continue to grow. And I think we took another step this week. I think South Carolina had a very strong defensive front, not just up front, but tying the linebacker core and how they fit. And that was going to be a challenge going in. And I thought we took another step in our physicality and our execution. Thought those guys ran hard as well.
Go to Emily Grace, right up the middle here.
Coach, what's the in-game adjustment process like between you and Coach Womack?
Yeah, I think the key in any game plan is to try to have really almost everything you have in the plan as far as your adjustments. Now, when you're on defense, I think there are some things that will pop up that you haven't seen on film, that you got to refer back to something that you've done with calls in the past. And you try to really minimize that as much, because the things you practice are the things the guys are comfortable with, especially week 5, 6, still as a new team with a new defensive scheme. And so, we don't have a lot of these banked reps from a year ago with all our guys, or even 10 or 11 games worth. It's new things that pop up, and we try to make the simplest adjustments to where our guys can still play fast. Down the road, this will all continue to bank as far as the reps we have, the experiences we have. We can recall on something that we did as an adjustment, in the past, hopefully in the future, and execute quicker and better in the games ahead. But as far as the process between he and I, we're just constantly, between series, talking on the phones real quick, just like I do with the offensive side, just hearing what the next move is, or for offense would be, hey, what are you thinking the next drive? What's the starter? What's your next third and medium, third and short, third and long? And then also defensively, what are some of those adjustments maybe in those situations, or how we think they're going to come out based on the flow of the situation in the game.
All right, let's finish up with Tony here.
Is it easier or harder to scout a team when it's struggling? Because you're going to get maybe some changes from them, but at the same time, maybe you're seeing their weaknesses. What is it? Does it?
Are you referring to, obviously, what are you? Any opponent? Okay. Well, you know that they're going through it, and just, I mean, I'm speaking really generally right now because that's the question. So, yeah, you know that they're going to continue to try to find the things that really work well for them, and you got to be ready for anything and everything. But I think at this point in the year, there's still going to be some type of basis that you work off of, and those added things. I mean, they got to execute them well too, and that's where we're at. We got things that we want to add in and continue to do, but we got to get enough reps at them in practice to, on top of the things that we already a part of our identity. Because if you can't execute it well in an SEC game when things are moving that fast and there's that many good players on the football field, that can backfire, that can hurt you. And so the key is making sure we do what we do, apply our rules and everything that we have, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, and then be disciplined with it. And that's going to be the name of the game here, this week, every week, moving forward.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Roll Tide.